So one more thing before we move forward here, which is absolutely important. Why all this obsession with time in these cycles? And that all of these cycles from all of these seemingly different cultures are fixed on one point in time. And that's the point in time we're in right now. And they've been fixed on this obsession of this point for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, even tens of thousands. And in some cases, depending on who we're talking about, what specific individuals we're talking about here in this rebellion, hundreds of thousands of years. They've been focused on this point we're in right now. They all have the same obsession. And they're tracking these cycles of time. The men are the priest class because it's the prophesies of this coming golden age in which they're going to get the reward in the physical for doing all this work. Now, of course, we're talking about these occultic mystery religions. You know, those who are connected to the elite and the wishes, the desires of the elite. So yeah, they're all obsessed with time, and then here is going to be why. And this will be the unifying reason that will unify all cultures. And we see right here, this is going to be, now I've already talked about this a lot in a few other videos. I can't remember which ones it is, but it's beneficial to see right here before we move forward. Chapter 4, Genesis. This is going to be that famous chapter in which talks about, and Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch, and he builded a city. All right, right away we find out this is in reference to the fallen sons of God, who would be referred to as the Nodites, which will translate to the Danites eventually later on in history, their descendancy. These great men, remember the fallen sons of God were great men, mighty men. Now remember what Samson was. He was a great man. He was a mighty man. That's the clue for the descendancy. That's just one simple clue, a visual clue. But there's much more that we've already uncovered. Now, as we find out, Nod translates to Dan. Well, we understood in the Job series that I just did that these donkeys are symbolism for the wild ass, the onager, O-N-A-G-E-R, which is now going to be symbolism for this crossed, mixed genetics of the demigods that have bred with the daughters of men, you know, via the Anunnaki. Now they're being symbolized in the Bible as donkeys or wild asses that don't really have no, you know, spiritual leading. They're wild asses, and it says they go forth from the desert and they only enter into the cities once the cities are in ruin. Well, we know that's exactly the description of the locust. So now the donkeys is Nod in reverse. So Nod translates to Don, which is the very same thing. This admixture, this genetic descendancy from the fallen sons of God in Genesis 6. There's a civilization that Cain goes to. Basically, he's going to find his people. And I've told you before that Cain is actually even fathered by these people. That's the enmity between Cain and Abel, is that they had separate fathers. So now we find out that Enoch is born, and Enoch just so happens to start building these huge megalithic stone cities. And then, of course, we have the metallurgy, the whole thing that comes into play. It's the very same thing that we find out in the book of Enoch, the very same stage of events. So this will tell you what the obsession is, and the book of Enoch will also, that they have been bound for a particular period of time. And we find out that this binding is related to a loosing on a cyclic period. And it says, if Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. Well, we know what the sevenfold was. It's going to be 7 times from the Garden of Eden until the Revelation time that we're in now. The earth is going to experience 7 separate judgments. And we found the proof of that in Leviticus. Next, we found out that the 70 generations was the key. And the 70 generations is going to be timed 72 in the processional cycle. So we've already talked about this. I'll be back.